Hello dear 7th graders, my name is Snježana Pavić and I will be your teacher today. The topic of today's lesson is school environment. By the end of today's lesson, you will be able to show understanding of the dialogue about the responsibilities of students today. You will also be able to show understanding of the text while listening to it. And you will be able to write the text using modal verbs must and have to. For this lesson, you need a notebook, a pencil, and a device with internet connection. Let's warm up with some familiar and less familiar expressions you are going to work with in today's lesson. The expressions are write a book report, pick up dirty clothes, put the dishes into the dishwasher, excused absence, catch up on the presentation, fall behind with schoolwork. Your task is to match the pictures to the expressions, so please pause the video and copy the numbers next to the expressions. And now let's check. This was quite easy, right? Just check the numbers next to the expressions and then pause the video and copy the expressions and write their translations in your notebooks. Look up the words you do not know in the dictionary. Are you ready for some more words and expressions? Look at these words and expressions and try to explain them in your own words. The pictures can help you. So, what does due mean? Očekuje se, potrebno je predati do. And what about roll eyes at? Kolutati očima. And then comply with the rules. Well done. Pridržavati se pravila. Lose track of time. Yes, you are right. Izgubiti pojam o vremenu. So anytime you can also use the online dictionaries like Cambridge and Oxford that you can see here on the slide. You are about to read a dialogue between a girl, her name is Emma, and her mom. What do you think the dialogue is about based on the expressions and words we have just learned? Can you guess? Well, read the dialogue and check your predictions. While reading the dialogue, complete it with the expressions we have just learned and revised. This bit.ly address and the QR code lead you to the word cloud so you can download the dialogue and complete the sentences. Take your time and hit the pause button. The dialogue goes continually on 2 slides. Good luck! And let's check. We have excused absence, fall behind, write the book report, lost track of time, roll eyes at, comply with, due, catch up. You can see 4 sentences on this slide. Who says them, Mom or Emma? Pause the video and think about the question. You had no trouble completing the task, right? So, Mom says, we made the rules together and we must comply with them. We don't have to pick them up for you. And Emma says, you are always surprised to see things you don't really have to see. And I mustn't forget, write a report pick up things. Today I will explain to you these two modal verbs, must and have to. They are sometimes confusing in English because the positive and the negative have different meanings. You have learned this before or you haven't learned, maybe you have heard about this. So what is the difference between must and have to? In the positive, must and have to have a very similar meaning. In British English, there is some difference between must and have to. Must is used to talk about an obligation that a person himself wants. If you say, I must clean my room, then it means I don't like it when it's messy. And have to is used to talk about rules, obligation from outside. For example, you have to read a book and write the book report. It means there is a rule. Everything gets better with practice. In this task, you need to choose the correct modal verb, must or have to. Pause the video and copy the title and the sentences. And let's check. I have to write an article about school in the past. It's my homework for tomorrow. I must write an article about school in the past. I want to present it in my class. I have to wake up early tomorrow. We are going on a field trip. I must wake up early tomorrow. I don't want to be late for school. I must work harder. The exams are next week. I have to work harder. My mom says so. The negative of must is telling us a rule in the negative. For example, you can say, you must not cheat in a test. This is a very strict rule. It is prohibited and you cannot do it. Must not we can shorten to mustn't. You mustn't cheat in a test. The negative of have to is don't have to or doesn't have to. But there is a difference. Doesn't have to or don't have to is your choice. If you want, you can do it, but you don't have to. Emma doesn't have to finish her report by Friday. She can do it next week. Mustn't means it is not allowed or it's a bad idea. You mustn't be late for class. Don't or doesn't have to means that there is no obligation, it's your choice. We don't have to pick them up for you. And a bit of practice for you. Again, your task is to choose the correct modal verb, mustn't or don't, doesn't, have to. Pause the video and copy the title and the sentences in your notebook. And let's check. I mustn't be late for class, or the teacher will be angry. We don't have to pass the test to ride a bike. You don't have to buy the new book. You can borrow mine. You mustn't be late for school. Hurry up. Emma doesn't have to do her homework today. There is no school tomorrow. It's a secret. I don't want anyone to know. You mustn't tell anyone. Now that we have learned modal verbs must and have to in the present tense, let us move on to the past. Emma's teacher is talking to the class about education in Wales in the past. School has changed over time. It used to be very different than it is today. Long ago, children had to do a lot of work to help. School was an option. Not all children could go to school. So pause the video, look at the picture, think about it, and write 2 questions that you expect to find answers to. Listen to Emma's teacher and check. If you can't understand every word, don't worry. You can look them up in a dictionary, or you can just try to guess the meaning from the context. You can play the recording as many times as you need.
Many children worked in coal mines in the 1800s in Wales. They started to work when they were 5 because the industry in Wales and the UK needed huge amounts of coal. Children worked for 12 hours a day in the dark with no fresh air. They worked in very unsafe conditions and could get killed. Mines were dangerous places to work. There were sometimes gas explosions or tunnels would collapse. Children usually had to do one of the 3 jobs. Younger children had to open and shut the doors in the tunnels to allow the air to circulate. Older children had to pull and push wagons of coal. Other, stronger children had to carry coal on their backs in big baskets. Many children suffered from growth problems because they had to bend down and stay in this position the whole day. Finally, in 1842 a law banned children under the age of 10 to work in coal mines, the Mines Act 1842. Children didn't have to go to school at that time. From 1880 education became compulsory until the age of 10. In 1893 the minimum age was 11, so they didn't have to go to school.
Have a look at these numbers. 1800, 5, 12, 3, 1842, 10. Listen to the teacher again. What do the numbers and years refer to? Pause the video and write a sentence next to each number. And let's check your sentences. Many children worked in coal mines in the 1800s in Wales. They started to work when they were 5. Children worked for 12 hours a day. Children usually had to do one of the 3 jobs. In 1842, a law banned children under the age of 10 to work in coal mines. Here is the tape script of the teacher's talk. Did you understand every word while the teacher was talking? Can you guess what the underlined words mean? You probably understood them all from the context. Pause the video, have a look at the underlined words in the tape script, and then complete the sentences. Pause the video and copy the sentences in your notebook. And let's check your understanding of the vocabulary. So, a coal mine is a place underground where people dig for coal. The old bridge collapsed after the storm. Pull the door to open it. Push the door to close it. I have to bend down to get my ball out from under the bed. Swimming is banned in this lake. It's not safe. English is a compulsory subject in most Croatian schools. Well done. Read the tape script again or listen to Emma's teacher and answer the questions. What did younger children have to do? What did older children have to do? What did stronger children have to do? Why did many children suffer from growth problems? Did children have to go to school at that time? Pause the video and answer the questions in your notebooks. The answers to the questions are: younger children had to open and shut the doors in the tunnels to allow the air to circulate. Older children had to pull and push wagons of coal. Stronger children had to carry coal on their backs in the big baskets. Many children suffered from growth problems because they had to bend down and stay in this position the whole day. Children didn't have to go to school at that time. As you can see, child labor prevents children from going to school. And all around the world, there are still millions of children out of school and into work. It's a very serious crime. Please pause the video. Which verbs express obligation or no obligation in these sentences? Let's check. So in the first sentence, we have the verb had to open and shut. This is an obligation. Older children had to pull and push. Stronger children had to carry. Then next sentence, they had to bend down. And in the last one, there is no obligation. Didn't have to go. Okay. Have a look at this table and please remember, must is normally used only in present tense. In the past, it changes to had to. For example, older children had to pull and push wagons of coal, or no obligation in the past, children didn't have to go to school at that time. Had to, morali su, didn't have to, nisu morali. Must changes to had to. It's time to use the new vocabulary and modal verbs in a writing task. Your task is to write a story using as many words, phrases on this slide here as possible. Use each of the modal verbs we have learned today. Ask your grandparents about their school days, what they had to do and what they didn't have to do, and then send the story to your teacher. You can write about how the life has changed for you compared to your grandparents. This checklist will help you with your tasks. Before sending the tasks to your teacher, please check that you have all the ticks in the checklist. The last activity in today's lesson is an exit card. We have learned 2 modal verbs, we have read a text about the school obligations today, and we have read about education in Wales in the 19th century. Think about what was the most important thing you learned and why, and what was the second most important thing you learned and why. Take your notebook and answer the questions. Dear students, this is the end of today's lesson. Until our next lesson, bye-bye.